Hey, Goddess. Welcome to Goddesshood Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Thea. And for those of you who cannot see me visually, I am a Black woman with a warm brown skin tone. And today I am rocking this curly blonde do, and I have brown or black roots. So it's kind of got this ombre vibe going on right now. And then behind me is a beige wall where there are triangle hanging shelves up on my ceiling, on my wall. That would be a cool sight though. There are triangle shaped shelves on my wall and they're wrapped in vines. Normally they light up, but we didn't light them up today. Also, you'll see my lamp in the background. It's one of those floor lamps, and I'm in my bed because it's behind the scenes. So, welcome into my space, y'all. Again, I'm your host, Thea, and I'm so glad that you could be here, Goddess. So let's get into this. Goddesshood behind the scenes. So, what is this all about? First of all, before we even talk about what behind the scenes is all about, we must first talk about goddesshood. Goddesshood is a combination of goddess and sisterhood. So, goddesshood is a verb, it's unleashing your inner goddess through sisterhood. And I have been so blessed and fortunate with amazing female friendships. It was not always like that. I had some tumultuous ones, and that allowed me to really learn to appreciate the really good ones, right? And identify the really good ones. And so, goddesshood is all about discovering your purpose. It's all about walking that walk with your sisters, right? But also, it's about trusting your intuition. So, even though I have an amazing goddesshood behind me, I still learn when, yes, I need my sister's input, but when I also need to trust my intuition and make the decision on my own and reflect and meditate and be in my own feelings and own truth about a situation, right? So, with that, that is goddesshood. Now, for those of you who have been rocking with me and my content for a while, you will know that I have launched many podcasts, but I have yet to do a season two of a podcast. So this is a rare and this is going to be a reoccurring experience. So this is not going to be just the end of Goddesshood, but this is the first time we're launching a season two. And I'm excited about it. Everyone in my camp is excited about it. And I can't wait to share season two with y'all. So, in honor of this journey of developing a season two, my first season two, I wanted to give y'all a behind the scenes exclusive as we lead up to putting out season two of the podcast. So, first and foremost, I do want to talk about the people that are in my tribe because that is huge to me. The people that are in my goddesshood, my camp. I want to talk about those people first so that you guys can understand one, you could do things by yourself, and there's times and places for that. But it's also such an impact, not just to your own life, but to the lives of others to do things in the setting of the community, right? Community is everything, you know? Um, I feel like we've all been so conditioned to, me, I, and we forget the power that is in community. Okay. So let's talk about my camp. The people that have been with me the absolute longest in my podcasting journey has been a company called My Producer. And My Producer is founded and led by Ahmad Rashad. He has been in the broadcast industry for over 2 decades now. And he has been with me every step of the way from launching my first podcast, which was The Miseducation of Masculinity, to what you see now today as Goddesshood. And so we have tried different things. We've been through many launches together, and he's been really instrumental in one unleashing my purpose, which is through podcasting. Through podcasting, I discovered that I also love to teach podcasting, and so I do that now as well. And so he's just been really instrumental and supportive in every step of the way. It's one thing to have people that are creative, but it's also another thing to have people that can do the logistics and the creativity together. And they understand how those things go hand in hand. So it's like you can have a vision, you can be creative, and you can create this amazing thing, but are you staying on task? Are you on deadline? How do you distribute that? That has been them. They've helped me every step of the way. I have never and will never edit my own podcast. refuse. It's just some things you need to leverage, and they do it well, and they are the experts, and they have helped me this entire time, which I appreciate. So we've been excited about playing with different ideas for the podcast. I've come up with some amazing segments that I'm excited to share with y'all. Hey. So I'm really juiced for that. The other people that are in my camp, there's a couple, and my one of my very best friends and her fiance, they are incredibly talented when it comes to music, and they are going to actually produce the music for the show. And I'm really excited for that because, normally, we get stock music, and I would sift through music libraries to see if I could find what captures the essence of the show that I was creating. And I am a huge music lover. So to be able to sit down and work with people to create the vision of the sound, the music, what I wanted to feel like, y'all, just to give you an example, I wanted to really feel like, I wanted to feel healing. I wanted to feel kind of like tribal. I wanted to just, mm, like I wanted to feel so good when you listen to it, when you hear it, when you hear the show come in, the music come in. I want you to feel like whatever was bothering you that day, man, ain't nothing to a giant. I want you to feel like that when you hear the music. I want you to feel like, damn, just, I can just go conquer the world right now. So that's the type of feeling I want to come through the track that we're going to produce for the show. I'm so excited. You guys really have no idea how excited I am about that. I'm a huge music lover. What else? Who else? And then we are bringing on Michelle, our virtual assistant. She is amazing. And she also has a passion for podcasting. So she is going to help us elevate the show. She's going to help us elevate the newsletter content that y'all receive. She's going to help us elevate the sound bites, the clips. Like, she's going to be all around involved in the creative process. And it is a beautiful thing when you have people that are passionate, just as passionate about you, about what you're doing as you are about what you're doing, as far as like podcasting is concerned. She has a huge passion for it. And I can't wait for that to all shine through. So there's just so many moving parts when it comes to a show. And I'm really looking forward to collaborating with all these amazing, wonderful folks on this journey. So let's break this down a little bit. Um, Behind the scenes there's no format to this. There's no production. You will not get any editing. You will not get any music on behind the scenes, just so we're clear. Season two will have all the like works, all the trimmings and stuff that you would normally see in our shows. But for behind the scenes, we just putting it out there just like this. No edits, no clips, no cuts, raw, right? I actually don't do a lot of like editing of my words or what I say in the show. I've maybe asked in my entire career of podcasting for one thing to be edited out of my show. I've always wanted to really give people the real and authentic version of me, which is a person who trips over her words sometimes, a person who forgets what she's going to say next sometimes, a person who, you know, does swear a fuck ton sometimes in her shows, depending on the subject, but just somebody who's not perfect. And I feel like, you know, socials and podcasts and TV, all that stuff has really convinced us that we need to be perfection when we hop on the camera, we hop on the mic. And I want to show you all that that is not what it's about. So I've always been um, highly averse to over editing my podcast. I'm not about that. The only things that I like to edit in, which you guys will see in season two, like I'm super excited about, sound effects, right? There'll be sound effects. There'll be segments that we're going to break it up into. There'll be graphics, but not a whole lot of editing in terms of the actual content that of what I'm saying. There is a lot of editing of like the sound levels to make sure things sound right. So you might notice the difference between the sound of this podcast, these episodes behind the scenes versus the actual season one episodes that have been edited, and then the season two episodes that y'all will hear that are edited. So you'll see stuff like that. that we do behind the scenes on our podcast. Um, in this particular season two, I actually wanted to feel more like a talk show than a podcast. So we have some really interesting segments that include things that I love, like music, like affirmations, like tarot. So y'all are gonna get a whole host of really engaging and exciting things to listen to when you hear season two. And we're also going to have the ability to now ask questions, talk about and break down a particular question, and pose it back to y'all because I want to hear from you. Here's the situation. This is what happened. What would you do about it? Right? So, season two is about to be great. Now, some technical things that I want to explain and share with y'all. If you are um, more video focused, where you like to watch the videos, you can watch all of our videos through Spotify. Spotify allows you to toggle back and forth between the video and the audio. Spotify also has a feature where you can submit questions to our Q&A, and we actually answer things and even comments too. So we answer things. So if you have questions or you want to share what you wish you would have heard or seen in an episode, like share that with us. We will love to hear that and like implement it into some of our shows where we can. And sometimes I answer things on social media that I can't necessarily get into a show. So I am listening, I am hearing you. So if you submit those things, you will likely hear about it from us. Also, um, even though um, I will be sharing things on my screens in these behind the scenes episodes, even if you're listening to the audio, I will still talk through what's on my screen and describe what we are all viewing on our screen for those who are watching video, what we're viewing. And I will describe it for people who are listening to the audio so that everybody can be tuned in, tapped into what's going on. I try to make the space as inclusive as possible when it comes to um, the different ways people are tuning into the episode, right? So there's all of that. So those are the different ways that you can listen. And what Spotify does is when you upload your video, it distributes the audio to all of the other sharing platforms. So, and it'll share the audio that way. So you can listen through Apple, through the normal ways that you would listen to your podcast if you're not listening through Spotify. So that's just a little bit of light housekeeping because I want everybody to be on the same page. And I want you all to be able to tune in a way that you see fit. So this is the first of many behind the scenes episodes of Goddesshood. Um, and thank you for just being a part of this journey and helping me celebrate the launch of my very first season two. And I can't wait to share more of the behind the scenes with y'all. It won't always be behind the scenes about what's going on the actual show or what I'm like working on. Sometimes my behind the scenes might be just a little mini rant about something that pops into my head that I want to share with y'all because I get those all the time. But just different little lessons and things that come up that I feel are worth sharing and they're valuable, I will share with y'all behind the scenes. So, again, behind the scenes is meant to be real raw, uncut. We're not doing any production, there's no production on this. And we are just leading up and honoring the launch of a season two. Um, I didn't want to share this with you all just yet, but I am feeling super called to share this with you all right now and do this on this episode for some reason. So there is going to be a segment of the show where we pull a card because I told y'all I'm really into tarot. And this is going to be a part of one of our segments. I'm not going to tell you all the segment name because I really don't want to give it away just yet, but I do want to leave y'all before we go with the card and something that you can do. This deck is actually one of my absolute favorite decks. It's by Adema, and she's a friend of a friend, actually. So the deck is called Black Moon Lilith Cosmic Alchemy Oracle. I'll put the name in the show notes so that you guys can go look it up. But let's just take a minute and give you your card for the week. I'm shuffling the deck for those of you who are not watching the video. You might be able to hear the shuffling of the deck in the background. I don't know. We'll find out when I listen to the episode back. Let's see. Now we're going to pull a card. Now we're cutting the deck. I'm cutting it a little bit small at the bottom, larger at the top. Okay, let's pull our card. And sometimes I do my pulls differently. Sometimes I spread them out and just pick one, the one that calls to me. Sometimes I cut the deck and just pick the one on the top. It depends. So the card that we got today is Adam, Dark Divine Father of Creation. So what does it say about Adam? You guys want to hear? I hope so. Okay. Dark Divine Father of Creation. The Adam Oracle card signals a time to heal your dark divine masculine shadow, a shadow that may originate with the father paternal ancestral patterns and imbalances in relationships. Adam's story can show us the toxicity that can develop around power struggles between masculine and feminine, and why it's important to heal it within. The Adam Oracle card raises the example of what not to do and encourages you to release toxic masculinity that has held you back in your life. Adam was the first man and counterpart to both Lilith and Eve. In both biblical myths, he is portrayed as the defenseless man who just wanted submission from Lilith. He was then tempted into sin by Eve, who bit into the forbidden apple from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Both creation stories teach that women who don't submit to their husbands are evil, and that if they are not controlled, they will tempt their husbands into sin. Masculine energy as a concept is used in occult teachings to describe efficiency, competition, and action. Feminine energy is associated with emotions, the senses, and feelings. Everyone has a level of masculine energy within them, no matter their gender identity. You can gain an understanding of your masculine energy in your birth chart by looking at the zodiac signs most present in your chart. The masculine signs of the zodiac are represented by the active air and fire signs: Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Water and earth are the sensory feminine signs: Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Stand in your own power through supporting and harmonizing with others. You're transmuting your dark, divine, masculine power into light. I don't know who needed to hear that, but you're welcome. Stand in your own power, support and harmonize with others. You are transmuting your dark, divine, masculine power into light. That is your card for the week. I can't wait to see how that plays out for you when you watch this and you listen to this. And I can't wait to actually rewatch this and see how it fits for the week that it comes out. Um, it's interesting. Sometimes when I read a card, I pull a card, and I, okay, I'm just going to tell you guys. This behind the scenes. So I should give you the tea, right? The tea. So here's the tea. Here's the tea. So a couple days ago, I had pulled a card, but mind you, I asked the deck a very specific question, and it answered me not about the question I asked about. And I was like, okay, that's cool, but like, what about this question? And then I pulled another card. And why did the first card say exactly what the second card just said? It was all related to the same thing. I was like, okay, that's cool. But what about this question? I pulled a third card, y'all, because I'm stubborn sometimes, whatever. And sure enough, the cards all connected, the three cards that I have pulled. And it was, telling me that I needed to focus more on leaning into the joy, the things that bring me joy, leaning into pleasure, leaning into figuring out how to stop suppressing myself and let my light shine through more. And that's not really what I wanted to hear because that's not what I was asking about, but that's what I needed to hear. And then I went onto one of my friends' pages who, um, does a weekly card pull for her audience on Instagram. And why was her card all about pleasure? I was so salty. I was so salty. I was like, not what I'm asking you about. But when I returned to my original question, I was like, that's very much so, in fact, the answer that I needed. So, sometimes it doesn't always set with you right away, but then when you listen back or you rethink back to your situation, you're like, oh, okay, okay, uh-huh, mm-hmm. And for those of you who are kind of new in this space of, pulling a card and, just getting dabbling into tarot and into just the spiritual, other parts of spirituality besides the traditional parts of spirituality that we've all been brought up in. Um, these aren't meant to tell your future or to be dark and evil and all the stuff that we were kind of taught. These are actually just like as if you were to sit with your scripture and you were supposed to read your scripture and you start answering questions and asking questions back and forth and kind of doing your meditation and your prayer, having this dialogue, because spirituality is really not meant to be a one-way street where someone's doing the telling and someone's doing the asking and someone's doing the telling. It's supposed to be a dialogue. And one of the things that has helped me get into trusting my intuition more is you know pulling a card around a situation, having a dialogue about it, writing in my journal, and coming to conclusions that make sense, right, in my situation, and learning to trust those decisions that I've made, and learning to say, you know what, Theodora, that's what feels right. That's what makes sense, and I trust myself. You know. So again, Goddess is all about trusting yourself. It's all about trusting sisterhood, and you can't trust the sisterhood if you don't trust yourself, right? Um, Learning to embrace your gifts and being comfortable being around other people that have just as big of gifts as what you have in your space, right? Like it is important. So you can see now, you guys kind of get the vibe of what Goddess is all about. We'll talk about purpose. Remember, season one was all about purpose and friendship. We'll talk about purpose. We'll talk about friendship. We're going to ask some tough questions. This season is really going to be focused on us going inward and asking questions to ourselves and, you know, coming up with um, ways that we would move forward, right? So I'm going to share some of my stories, and then I'm going to ask that you share back, how you would have, handled or moved forward in this situation. So that is Goddesshood behind the scenes. That's the first one. It's a wrap. And I will see y'all on the next behind the scenes, which will be the week after this, and then the week after that, and the week after that until we launch Goddesshood season two. And thank y'all for being on this journey with me. Signing off. Bye.